Yes, everybody, welcome back to another daily drop brought to you by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, joining me as he always does. You probably don't really need an introduction at this point, AJ, because I think people know who you are, but I'll go ahead and let them know. THI staff writer Andrew Jones over there. And AJ, we're here for a Carolina basketball related drop in this one, and we're going to be talking about Hubert Davis and really kind of posing a question to you guys and how many years are enough to really get a full gauge on Hubert Davis. So, AJ, we've talked about this a lot off camera. I'm sure you've probably had a lot of discussions on the boards with fans about this off the record as well, because it is a hot topic based on kind of the struggles that Carolina did go through with the expectations that they went into last season with. So I think it is a relevant topic, and I think it's one that a lot of people are probably thinking about and kind of having discussions amongst Carolina fans themselves as well. So just to dive right into it for time purposes, because we're not going to go super long in this drop, trying to keep this one a little bit shorter. How many years do you think is enough to get, like I said, an accurate kind of gauge on whether or not Hubert Davis is the guy to carry this program forward?
And before answering, I'm just going to say that we're not saying how many years does he get.
No.
Period.
No.
It's just because a lot of people this time a year ago, well, Hubert's the man because they made the run. Not a lot of people like Hubert's trash because
the narrative is completely flipped. Yeah.
And I said before he ever coached a game, and I maintain it now, you need 3 seasons because he needed to cycle some players through. You need to get some of his guys there and see how he adapts. 3 seasons would be plenty to at this juncture in his life, being with the basketball he's been around, the experience he's had, to really get a gauge kind of where this thing might be going under him. So I'm going to stand by 3 years, but I will tell you that most people listening that are watching, that are Carolina fans, have recognized the fact that in 9.5 months, 10 months of basketball, regular season, postseason basketball under Hubert, they've been good 1 month. They've been at best.
It's true.
The rest of the time.
It is true.
So I will tell you, I talked with someone who is extraordinarily, very much in the know, very close to the situation about it, and I was told that the people that are watching with a little bit of a different lens all see this. They see what everybody else is seeing. None of this is lost on them. They recognize there was that 1 month, which was off the charts, and then it's been very bumpy otherwise. And this past year, nearly, basically capsized because they didn't make the tournament. So they don't really know where things are either. They need the third year too. The people who know basketball much better than you or I do need a third year as well. And I think this is the key third year because the roster is going to be vastly different. And it's going to be vastly different in part because he created a situation where it was going to change. And he went and got his guys in there. And he's got the composition now that should be able to run a lot of what he wants to run. But we'll also learn, does he force them to run things sometimes when he should just let them go? Do you work them in the preseason to learn how to play off each other so they're better when things break down? Or they don't even need to run a set. They just go at it and they have great chemistry and they play. We're going to find out this year if Hubert is a control freak on offense and just calls way too many set plays, and that's just who he is. And we're going to find out if Hubert's a guy that ignores the bench, isn't going to play those guys. Or we're going to find out if he felt like it was a necessity last year, especially to call somebody set plays because they didn't have a lot of the great composition to be a free-moving offense because there weren't a lot of scoring options. Defenders would have been laying off dudes all along. It would have been very difficult for RJ and Armando to get their shots. So maybe Hubert thought, okay, let's just run sets and we'll create them for them through specific movement, screening, and using of space and that kind of thing. Maybe that was the case. And also, maybe he didn't play a bench that much because it wasn't really a very talented bench. In spite of what Hubert said about guys, disassociate that for a moment and take a look at what those guys did when they got into games. Maybe he's like, look, we're barely getting by. We got to win these games, and I'd rather have a tired Armando on the floor than arrested this guy or whoever. Pick your name. Doesn't really matter about the player or position. So he's got plenty of options on the bench now. Is he a guy who uses a bench, or is he a paranoid coach who doesn't? And he's terrified that there'll be a little bit of a drop off and that could cost him the game. That's what we're going to learn in year 3. Yeah. Year 1 and year 2, so much learning, so much newness. I think the shock and awe of the way this last season went was something that they never fully climbed out of. And I'm sure Hubert's one of them. There were times when we talked to him when he kind of gave me the impression like, man, I am searching. I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't get it. I'm looking for that needle in a haystack that I can use to poke everybody with, to move them on to be what they're supposed to be. And he never found it. Mm-hmm. So this year, he doesn't start the season looking for that needle in the haystack. It's a totally different platform in a sense. So what he has with his stuff, with his players, and with what they can do. There was that clip of them running. Carolina put out on Twitter here about a week ago, them running a fast break and a Jalen Withers amazing dunk pass from
Cormac Ryan, I believe it was, with the lob.
Cormac Ryan, yeah, exactly. And it was Cadeau pushing ahead too on that. So, so that was a great play, and you want to see more of that. So do they run more? Do they trap someone defense? Do they change defenses up? Do they run motion freelance a lot more? Do they use the baseline more? A guy like Withers, I think, has a chance to be great on the baseline. So we're going to see all that stuff. So year 3, we're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a whole lot in year 3, kind of what we thought going in.
Yeah, I agree. And for the sake of this, so I don't just, because I agree with what you said, year 3 is an accurate gauge. I think you can get enough for 3 years, especially when you consider that it's his guys now. So for the sake of the conversation, the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap it up, because again, we're going to be kind of in and out on this one. What is enough this year? What does enough mean? Because is a 25-11 season in a Sweet 16 appearance enough? Does it need to be a 28-8 season? In a Elite 8? Is that enough? Like, what is enough? Because obviously the expectations are always at Carolina, especially I think with this team, is Carolina needs to win something, that NCAA tournament or an ACC title. It needs to win something. If they don't do that, in your opinion, what is enough to say, okay, I think things are moving in the right direction. We'll give Hubert maybe another year to see if he can keep building this thing. What do you think's enough?
The person I spoke with said to that question, there's no number. There's no, you have to win this.
There's not like something written on the whiteboard of like, you got to do this.
No, there's no way. Yeah, exactly. That's not there because, and I think this is the right way to handle it. You see how things evolve, see how things play out, and see where you are at the end. You can't draw a line right now and say you must be here or you're gone. I'm not a big, you could do that in sales because it's all based solely on sales, but I think that they understand that there's more here than just winning, and trust me, the lack of winning has been unacceptable. Those are the words that I heard. But they also recognize the kind of program he's trying to build and the culture that he wants. And it's a little different than the way the sport's moving right now. So he's kind of looking for a little bit of a different kid. However, if you look at recruiting right now, he's going after the best kids, and he's offered 5 of the top 10 kids in 25, maybe 6 of the top 10 kids in the class 25. So he wants the talent.
Yeah.
But he wants a culture of a program where it's okay if the coach hugs a kid. And not because he made a great play, but because he had a good day. He just had a good conversation. And that is highly appreciated. And it's embraced by the power structure. But you have to win. Ultimately, it comes down to winning. It doesn't matter how great a guy somebody is.
Yeah.
If you hire 5 salesmen and their job is to meet a quota, and one of them you have the best conversations with, and you love his wife, he's got adorable kids, they had you over for dinner, and the meatloaf was the best you ever had. If he's getting 3 sales a month and the other 3 guys you hired that day are getting 6 sales a month, you're going to have to make a decision. It's a tough decision. So I don't think I know that there's not a number there. Let's just see how it plays out. And whatever the number ultimately is, how do they get there? Mm-hmm. What does it look like going from November 5th or whatever, 6th, whenever the season starts, to that last game? How did they get there? Mm-hmm. Last year was a bad look. And the power structure will tell you it was a very, very bad look. And it looked like there was sort of no idea what to do for a long period of time. Year 3, there needs to be a clear understanding and recognition that you know what to do. Even if it doesn't work, at least you know what to try. And you're going to try it. You're confident enough that you can try it. Mm-hmm. Confidence is so important in athletes, and it's hugely important with coaches.
Yeah. And people look at situations a lot, especially with sports, black and white. And it's not as simple as like, well, if you win X amount of games, you'll stick around. If you don't, see you later, buddy. There's so much more. And again, we talked about it last year of when Carolina struggled when we were covering the team, there were moments where we were like, why aren't new things being tried? Why isn't adjustments being made? Why are we being told as a media in a press conference that we're going to try new things? And then we ask a player like Armando after a game, what did you try new? And nothing. That shows a lack of understanding, maybe a lack of willingness to try to adapt and do that. Maybe just a lack of a guy that maybe doesn't really know how to fix the situation that he's put his team in. But again, you've learned a lot. Yeah, and again, that's expected because I've told people off camera this a lot. I've had conversations with this a lot. It's never anything personal with Hubert. A guy that was never a head coach and had no head coaching experience taking over a program like North Carolina that, let's not forget, was struggling in the years prior to him coming. It's not a Carolina that like Hubert took over after winning. Carolina made a Final Four and lost 3 games one year appearance, or won a national championship the year before. That's not the program he took over. So there was already a little bit of unrest with the fan base of like, okay, we got to get back to winning ways and we got to get this thing back on track. And it hasn't really been able to do that besides kind of the blip that they had, for lack of a better term, a couple seasons ago when they made the run and had a 15-point lead against Kansas in the national title game at halftime. There was always going to be pressure. And if a guy like Hubert, who had no head coaching experience, wasn't able to do the job and wasn't up to the job, I think that's pretty understandable, AJ. I mean, wouldn't anybody struggle who's never been a head coach taking over?
You made a fantastic point about what it was like before he took over. They went 14-19, and then they went 18-11 with Roy's only first-round NCAA exit. It was an embarrassing performance against Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. I think those 2 seasons shortened Hubert's leash.
Agreed. There's no doubt.
I'm not saying that way with the power structure. I'm saying with the fans. So the frustration was already there. So had they won 3 straight national championships, people are like, well, I got those natties over there I'm looking at. So I don't like what I'm seeing here on the tube. Man, those natties look good right there.
Yeah, those new banners look nice up there.
It's up there. Yeah. No. So I think with the fans, impatience, they were far more impatient quickly. Mm-hmm. But they also had a lot to be upset about, or not upset about, but just kind of concerned about. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you right now that the people that matter see it. They see everything that the fans have seen. They see everything the media has seen. And in year 3, Hubert deserves the grace of year 3. So the people that have made their proclamation, you could end up being right if you're negative on Hubert. You could end up being right, but he deserves year 3, and he deserves the peace of having a 3rd year. And again, not to save his job. We're not going there with this at all. It's more just to show where he is as a coach. Yeah. So I didn't get the sense that, in talking with this person, I didn't get the sense that Hubert is in
on the hot seat, for lack of a better word.
In a lot of danger just yet. But look, right now, you don't anticipate a repeat of this last year. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Yeah, agreed. And
we're going to do a pressure on Hubert pod, and we're going to do stuff of that later. But I do think the 3rd year, especially with all of the newness now, we're going to find out what kind of coach he is. And that's what's important. That's the focus here. And I think because of that, fans should just back off. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can stress about Hubert Davis in North Carolina all you want. It's not going to affect any change. Year 3 is going to happen. They're going to play all their games and have all their results. And then you have a better idea what type of coach he is. Carolina fans that have publicly said, well, I don't like Hubert, he's not the guy, and are afraid to go again, almost want to root against him so they can be right, are fools. Because if he's not the guy, and in a year or two they got to turn this thing over and give it to somebody else, they're probably going to go outside the family because there is nobody else in the family.
They're going to have to.
There is no Roy Williams winning conference championships in the Big 12 every year waiting in the wings. Doesn't exist. So if it could work with Hubert, that is best case scenario for North Carolina, and for North Carolina to be the kind of program on the court, off the court, and connecting with the fans and history that it's been for so long. So it's ideal for everybody involved if it works with Hubert. And we'll find out after 3 years kind of really where he is as a coach. I suspect a lot has been learned. He's a smart man. He's a good man. My understanding is that there have been conversations and he's totally gets it. And you could see kind of how they went about the portal, that, yes, I got it. There's some things that are learned. We're doing something a little bit different now.
Now we'll just see if the in-game stuff has been learned and if the managing of different games and different personnel in your bench has been learned. I think that's the thing we'll learn during the season, and it'll be pretty evident, I think. And last thing I'll say, AJ, because I've talked to a lot of Carolina fans off camera about this, and let's say, and I'm not saying I believe this, but let's say Hubert doesn't end up being the guy to carry the program forward for whatever reason. Let's say there's a change made in a couple of years. To me, it would not be a surprise because of where the program was at before, and because of the fact that they brought in a guy that had no head coaching experience and was going to be learning on the fly. Yeah. Anybody, AJ, I don't care if you played at Carolina or were assistant under Roy for 7-8 years. I don't care. Anybody that had no head coaching experience, I don't care if you were an assistant in the NBA for 20 years, that came into a program with the expectations that the University of North Carolina has, and that was coming into a program that was already kind of trending downwards anyway. Anybody in that situation would struggle early on. Anybody would. There would always be a learning curve, because how would there not be? So again, if it does maybe not end up working out, and again, I'm not saying I think that's going to happen or that's what I want to happen. I don't have any stake in it in that respect. I think it would be understandable, and it would not be a surprise to me because of the sheer task and the sheer weight and the sheer expectations that come with trying to essentially learn on the fly at one of the biggest programs in sports, arguably. It was always going to be difficult, and it was always going to be an uphill battle for a guy that had zero head coaching experience coming in. Let's see if he can turn it around in year 3 and get things back on the right track. And I think he has a good chance in doing so. I'm not going to sit here and say I guarantee you it's going to happen, but when I look at who he's brought in, if he can just learn from some of his mistakes, build on it and evolve and learn and adjust as a coach, I think he has a good chance to have a good year coming up. But we'll see what happens, man.
Had he been somewhere else for 6, 7, 8 years as the head coach and came in, I don't think 3 years would have been the window.
Yeah.
3 years is the window, because for the reasons that you stated. So
yeah, agreed. And we won't keep repeating that. Well, again, we'll have more podcasts in the future as we get closer to the seasons about this topic and about other things surrounding it. But I think that's a good place to leave this one today. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones, another episode of the Daily Drop. Make sure you like the video below. We want to hear from you guys. Get involved on Twitter at Heel Illustrated, Facebook as well at Tar Heel Illustrated, or come over to our site. Sign up for just $8.33 a month to get access to our premium content and premium message boards. You can get involved on our message boards where we post every single content item we put out. Have a lot of good discourse over there, and we'll hear your opinions. But again, all the links are below. We want to hear your opinion on this. We want to know what you guys think is enough time to gauge whether or not Hubert is the guy to carry this program forward. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. See you on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.